Let's move on to the next big conversation point. The central government has said that as of now, they do not have any plans to make tech giants like Facebook or Google pay for using the news content of other publishers on their platforms. All of you consume a lot of the news on Google, whatever pops up on Google platforms, on Facebook, whatever pops up on your feed, whatever is shared by those in your network. And there is much debate going on across the world right now that if these tech giants are going to be using and allowing news content of other parties to be shared on their platforms, at some point, they will have to share the benefits of it with the news publishers. Now, in Australia, several months ago, beginning of this year actually, they brought in this law. Obviously, there was much resistance from the tech giants themselves. Facebook, in a sense, threatened to exit the country when this law was brought in Australia. But they have. And they have told these giants that you will have to pay a share to the news publishers, the ones who are putting in the effort, the ones who are putting in the resources, the ones who are putting in the money and the time to gather the news that people need to know. They must get this share of it. But to a question that was asked by Congress MP Shashi Tharoor in the Parliament, if you've taken cognizance of the Australian law, if you're mulling moves to make Google and Meta pay for news, are there any concerns over market power of Meta and Google? And the central government's response was, we are aware of the dominance of the big tech platforms on internet. We are working with intermediaries on issues, but there is no proposal for enactment of such a law. That is what I want to discuss tonight. Why should there be such policies? Should the government bring in these policies, or should we let the markets really decide for themselves? Should we let the tech giants and the news organizations decide for themselves how they want to coexist as we move ahead? I say good evening to Jayajit Bhattacharya, cyber expert. Karma Palchor, editor-in-chief for East Mojo, joins us this evening. Rahul Narayan, advocate with the Supreme Court. Vikas Saraswat, columnist at Swarajya, and Dainik Jagran, also joining me this evening. Let me actually start off with Rahul on this. Just to begin with, Rahul, if you can explain to people what's happening in Australia, or if there are other countries who are also trying similar rules.
I think in many ways Australia is the pioneer on this. Let me explain briefly what they have done. The way it's going to work now in Australia is that the big social media giants will have to enter into basically private treaties with the big publishing houses, etc., in order to so that their content can be shared on Meta or on Google. And if they don't enter into such an agreement within, say, 2 months, there will be a compulsory government-forced arbitration on them to decide the price which they will have to pay. So what has been decided is that, one, that the companies have to pay the publishing houses some amount of money for allowing the users to share their content on this. And two, that the price of this should be democratically and economically negotiated between the two parties. Except if they don't do this, then the government is going to force a kind of arbitration on them and force a price, kind of almost like compulsory licensing on them. Now, I think this is again, I mean, you just asked me what other countries are doing about this. So I'm saying this is what Australia has done. I don't necessarily think that India should follow down the same path. There are many complicated issues to be considered in this. I think considering the nature of the internet and what actually is done when users share news articles, etc. But I think we can maybe discuss that a little later on the program if you just wanted the information.
No, actually, let's start with that. Let's straight away now dive into the debate and why you don't think we should do something similar.
See, the beauty of the internet is, and this is perhaps I think the best feature of the internet, that it's very democratic. Whether you are a big publishing house or whether you're a small hidey-hole operator, if you're popular, you will get the clicks. So if you have the best article on a particular thing, you perhaps will reach the top of the Google page, and that should be the way it should be. That means I'm sitting here in Delhi in India, can look at newspaper articles and news articles from all over the world, depending on whatever suits me the best. So it's basically a way for the audience to choose what they want to see. Now, what is going to happen if you compel a social media giant like Google to enter into an agreement with particular agencies? There are how many newspapers in this country? Countless thousands. So they are obviously not going to enter into agreements with all of them. So what eventually is going to happen is they will enter into some arrangement with, say, 20 or 30 of the biggest ones, and they cannot access anybody else. So basically, what will happen is that the power which the consumer currently has, the ability to choose their own source of news, will completely disappear.
Okay.
Because in the end, you will get what is shown to you by the social media giants, which will be basically what they've already agreed. So this is a way to make the powerful a little bit more powerful and the powerless a little more powerless.
Which actually could already be happening. It's not to say that these tech giants aren't getting into partnerships with some of the media organizations, because they are. And if they then choose to only go ahead with them in partnerships and only push their content, then we're looking at the similar situation as what you're warning about. But let's look at what the market setup is and why this conversation is important. This is a survey that was done and published in various newspapers, which said that as of 2019, and the numbers may have changed, 68% of Indian users were consuming their news on smartphones, where almost over half of it, 52%, were actually consuming it on platforms like Facebook and Instagram. 26% on Instagram, 18% on Twitter. When asked how many of them actually go to original news source, 18%. Only 18% of the survey, those who responded said they actually go to the original, which is where I think the push from the news industry comes. Karma, would you want to come in here and share your views as to how we should proceed forward? Let the market decide, or should there be a rule?
I mean, being a news publisher, regional news publisher who's struggling, I would definitely like that Google and Meta do share some amount of revenue. But asking, the government to step in and making certain kind of rules, bringing in those regulations will be absolutely, difficult, as Rahul said. And I agree with him. I think, we should let the market decide how and when this will happen, and let the numbers decide. So if my platform in the Northeast, eastmojo.com, is performing well, getting all the metrics right, then perhaps that should be, really looked at, and not, a government-mandated agreement that I have to sign with Facebook or Google. And as you know, these are huge tech giants. I mean, if they are to sign any contract with a small publisher like me, they'll take me to town and sell me, So, how do I protect myself? So there are a lot of these questions in my mind. While I definitely agree that what I get from Google AdSense or what little monetization I get from Facebook is peanuts, sometimes I laugh and say that I think it's only enough to support two of my office boys, who help us with the day-to-day running of the office. And it's certainly not enough. So it is a difficult question. It is going to be hugely complicated. I am regional, then there are hyper-local news sites who solely depend on Facebook, and would you now ask Facebook to also do agreements with them? So they're just, I think it's a Pandora's box that will open up once that happens.
No, okay, I'll come back to you, because I also want to talk about, so what is it that various, players are actually doing, especially in the digital front, all the new startups that have come in the last few years. How are they coexisting and finding their way along with these tech giants? But before that, let me bring in two of our other panelists. And Mr. Bhattacharya, to you, where do you stand on this debate?
See, the issue is of a digital monopoly threatening the news space, and essentially it's monetizing content that has been created by others. Now, the problem in the Australian model is that the deal that has been struck is between the media monopoly and the digital monopoly, leaving out the smaller players. And we have seen similar case happening in France, where, even though there were a large number of media players who banded together, I think about 121 of them, and did that negotiation, it still leaves out many of the smaller players. Now, also, if you look at some of the news medium in India, let's take one in random, timesofIndia.com. you will see that under every news article, they're actually putting in a button saying, can you share on Facebook or can you share on Twitter? Which means that there is a synergistic model lying over there where the media houses are actually gaining because of the association with the digital monopolies. And therefore, from an Indian perspective, it seems that nothing is yet broken. On top of it, we haven't really heard any of the media houses coming out in India and complaining that their content is being misused by the digital monopolies. And hence, if something is not broken, the question thus arises that what are we really trying to fix? If things are going in a manner that's acceptable to all the stakeholders in India, what is it that needs to be fixed?
I do disagree with you to a certain extent, because I've had great many conversations with the media owners who believe that there needs to be a sustainable revenue share way method going forward at this point. Otherwise, those who are actually investing their own resources and time and putting in people to gather the news but not getting the returns, and especially at a time where their own revenue streams are drying up on several other accounts, and everybody is moving to these digital platforms. So there has to be some way forward. Maybe at this point, many don't want the government to intervene and see how the market itself evolves and the way it moves forward. Let me ask Mr. Vikas Saraswat, what should it be? Should we leave it to the media organizations and the tech giants to figure it out, or is there a threat that the big giants are going to monopolize it, threaten their way, put in their prices, and that will kill a lot of the blooming news organizations as well?
Big tech is obviously making very good money out of the traction what they are getting, but on the other hand, no, it's also giving a lot of traction to the news portals, various media outlets also. So in one way, these portals, the big tech is also something like, if very technically speaking, no, it is also like newsstands or magazine stores or the newspaper vendor. They are basically bringing the news to you. So if a media house is really concerned about their content being shared, they can always protect themselves behind paywalls. What a lot of new startups have done. Swarajya, in fact, has one such model where news is actually shared, freely available, and some 3 stories per week are available to the readers. Beyond that, someone has to pay for it. So those models are always there. And to me, actually, more than this sort of Australia kind of a model, news broadcasting code, what bothers me more is the kind of prioritization which search engines like Google do. So how do they prioritize the Google search? And if a government can compel them to reveal their algorithm as to how this is done, I think that would be more, it will be a better thing for the readers, for news portals to know, like, because we see, there are certain portals which always show up on the top, and the others, like, they're relegated to the 3rd page, 4th page and all that. So, and as a panelist already pointed out, not many media houses are also complaining. So probably if there is no complaint, more government intervention is always bad. That's what I think.
Yeah, more government intervention is always bad. I do agree with you, and I think people are extremely wary if that happens and which way it's headed. But interesting point that you made of how media organizations are finding their way to say, okay, some amount of the news is available for all, but some of our own proprietary content can be behind a paywall, and that's how we are going to move forward. Karma, coming back to you on that. So, what are the various things that several of the digital players are right now looking at in terms of revenue streams when these partnerships aren't working out?
Yes, looking at our own model at East Mojo right now, we've not gone on to that model because whatever is available on eastmojo.com is completely free. But increasingly, we are looking at a model where we give certain stories for free to consumers. But then there is a dedicated lot of our readers who love us, who like what we do and are coming back to us, every month. So that area, we feel those people are ready to pay for, what we produce. And it's not much looking at the numbers. Hence, my earlier point that I wanted to make is that let no government come in, but let everything be decided on the metrics, how I perform as a website, how many people come, how valuable is my news. So we should be paid, at par. So I think subscription model is the way forward for us. I've never relied on Meta, Facebook. I've never relied on Twitter. I think, these things. But yes, Google ranking, how we work on our SEO, how we come up on our searches, how, when somebody looks for news on any of the states in the Northeast or Northeast news, whether we come up in the first three or not, that is always something that we've worked on. And in the past years, we've managed to succeed. And I think that is the most important thing right now for us to get our numbers right.
Okay, beyond the starting off point, when it comes to the next stage of where you also need to start growing, what is the view that you have about news organizations who are doing their own original content that then gets shared, but also picked up by aggregators, news aggregators on other platforms apart from, say, a Meta or a Google?
So, when you're fighting for the numbers, then you put your news out on all different, it's for you to decide.
Correct.
So we say for a daily hunt, we got into an agreement with them and they put out our news, but this is purely to get our numbers up also. So it's a two-way traffic. They push our news and we get the traffic. So I think this kind of a coexistence will continue, but we'll have to reach a stage very soon, wherein only a certain number of articles are available for free. And we are reaching that point. I think it'll take about 1.5 to 2 years when people will be comfortable. People are already comfortable paying online. Thanks to the pandemic, everybody's very comfortable paying online. There are enough safeguards. And it's only a matter of time that people will start paying for news, good news, which informs them, which has got good investigative pieces. I think people will start paying, and that's when we become sustainable. But me to look at a Meta or a Google or any of the other platforms which are there to make me sustainable looks like a very tough battle. In the early days, with YouTube, the YouTubers had a hugely successful journey. But as YouTube got saturated, I think there also monetization is becoming a big challenge, even for those who have millions of views.
Okay, very quickly before I wrap this up, Rahul, to you then, what is the logic that was used in Australia? Why did the government feel the need at that point to step in, much to, despite the fact that there was a large amount of opposition from giants like Facebook?
See, I think, one should always be charitable and not attribute motives to anybody, but I can't help but thinking that Rupert Murdoch is not exactly a powerless person who has no authority or no control over a country which might be soon going to elections.
Right.
So to some extent, I think, that like one gentleman said before me, it's a matter of one monopoly versus another monopoly. So to that extent, it's not really newspapers have been saved by social media as such that, big and powerful newspapers in Australia have managed to get one more source of income. So I think that's certainly one way to look at it. And also, this is such a complicated sphere and there are so many different things that we've talked so far about. I spoke earlier about the nature of the internet and how this would actually lead to a complete kind of severing as to what we have completely contemplated, because whatever we search will now be dependent upon an agreement between two private people and therefore cutting out the small person. Even in terms of economics, think about it. I mean, if I am sharing an article written by somebody else on a social media platform, the social media platform isn't sharing the article. So what does it matter to the social media platform who's sharing it or what? It's not that they're using your content. They're not. They're simply allowing their users to use whatever they want to upload. So if the news website itself does not permit free articles to be shared, there's nothing which Facebook or Meta, or Twitter or anybody else can do to make that sharing happen. So I don't think the publishers can also have it both ways, that you are so thrilled that you have millions of more eyeballs than before because of articles being shared in Google, and yet you want the money as well. So I think maybe the answer is for papers to find their own ways of raising new income. I mean, for example, when cars came about, people who used to run horse carriages figured out a new way to make a living. I mean, I know that's harsh and that's mean. And I do know that it's an important thing for news to be subsidized to some extent, maybe a subsidy, again a renewed subsidy on newsprint for example. But I mean, I think that this is not the correct way to do it, and I don't think it's economically justified or morally justified either.
Now, much is actually said about when news organizations do start finding other ways to bring in revenue, and then questions are raised there. But I'm not going to go down that path tonight. Thank you to all of you for joining me on this conversation and sharing your insights. So, as far as India is concerned, the government has made it very clear they're not looking right now at getting into this. They're going to leave it to the market players, news organizations, the news publishers, and the platforms to figure out how they need to coexist. They want to coexist, and if they actually want to share the money they make out of making you read the news on these platforms.